When Pastor Alexei, a couple of days ago, texted me actually a couple of times, I actually was so busy that I saw his text messages, I just kind of got carried away and forgot to reply. But on the way back home from work, I was thinking to myself, all right, Alexei's asking me to do a testimony. And I've told my testimony at least 3 or 4 different times in the same way. And you know, some of you guys, if not most of you guys, will agree with me that when you say the same story over and over again, it sometimes loses its salt, right? It's kind of like, so I was thinking to myself, like, what else can I bring that would be like as a fresh spiritual food to the church? And I was sitting down, well, a couple of nights, you know, just after work when everything is done, no phone calls, no nothing. And I actually figured out or found out that there's extras to what God has done in my life. A little bit about me. I was born in Moldova. 30 years ago, we immigrated to USA about 15 years ago. And when I was growing up, my family was Christian family. We were going to church, although I didn't like going to church. There's a couple of reasons. First of all, because like me and my brothers would just, you know, play around as kids, and it seemed at that time as though like we were made to go to church. I mean, obviously you have to. I mean, so we're just like, oh, you know, can't play. We have to go to church, and we have to walk to church most of the times. You know, during the week, rain or snow, don't matter. You're walking to church, so you're just, you know. So that kind of attitude toward church just kind of developed a negativity in me. When I was kind of like, I wasn't planning to escape because I was like, oh, whatever, it's part of my life. But I was doing that not for appearances. I was just doing that because my whole surrounding was Christian. My friends were Christian, my cousins Christian, my mom and dad. So when we came to the United States, the same thing kind of repeated because I didn't have a car. I was 15 at the time. And when Dad and Mom would go to church, obviously they would tag all the kids along, so we would go to church. And then we went to, what was it, Saturday school? It's not Sunday school, but for teenagers, I don't know what you would call it. We have got plugged in with Andre, you know, playing the piano and participating in worship. But I didn't really, I mean, it was kind of like, what is the word I'm looking for? Inertia. Can somebody translate that to English? Inertia? Is that the word? Inertia? Yeah, inertia. So you're just kind of like going through the motions, you know. I've gotten used to this kind of a lifestyle. I've gotten used to my Christian friends. So it was just flowing, going with the flow per se. Eventually what happened was I got a car, I got a cell phone, and then life started changing. There's been a little more reasons as to why I started doing the things that I was doing, but it doesn't matter here, you know. Everybody that was in addiction has different reasons to why and how they started or became addicted to this and that. I'm not going to touch a lot on that, how I got addicted, but I just want to emphasize on how God has come into my life and what has He done when He came into my life. Back then, and even during my first and second testimony, which I was saying in churches, I thought it was just, you know, God completely like gave me freedom from drugs, which I was heavily addicted to. And that's true, but I kind of had this revelation yesterday. On top of just freeing me from drugs, which I can testify to, it has been, Tom, how long? 5 years? 5 years? I finished the program. I got married, praise God. I got a beautiful wife, and life is great. God is blessing us. And ever since then, ever since I finished the program, I didn't think once, oh, maybe, you know, just maybe once, maybe nobody will. I never had that thought. And the way it happened was I came in, you know what, let me just read a verse from the Bible first as a foundation for what I was going to be saying right now. It is written in 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 4 and on. It says, "For the weapons of our warfare are not of the flesh, but mighty before God to the casting down of the strongholds, casting down imaginations and every high thing that is exalted against the knowledge of God, and bringing every thought into captivity to the obedience of Christ." I came to the center on my birthday, and I was going through a thing called withdrawals. For those who don't know, and when you're cold turkey, quit drugs, you're hurting. So this is the process I was going through. And at that time, I was so mad. I just hit my rock bottom, and I was sitting in the living room there on the couch because I was like shaking and shivering and stuff like that. And then my friends came in, or not friends, one of my friends was on the program for half a year at that time. He walks in and is like, "Alex, you got to stop sitting around there. Let's go outside, have some fun." And it's February. It's cold and wet and dirty, and I'm just like, okay. So I dressed up like an Eskimo because it was so cold. We went out to the farm. At the center, they have a farm. And I was thinking to myself, before that, I was sitting on the couch and I was looking outside before even Paul and a couple of other guys walked in. I was sitting on the couch and I was thinking, like, I didn't want to pray at that time, and I just said, you know what, whatever. I'm just going to tell God how it is. Because before that, my prayers looked like really sophisticated prayers, like my dad was praying. And a lot of times I didn't even put a lot of meaning into what I was saying when I was praying. So this time I just said, you know what, God, in a few words, I like drugs. I told him that. I want to not like them. And then this spot from the Bible came into my head. If the Son of God sets you free, you will be free indeed. And at that point, I thought to myself, you know what? A lot of pastors in my life, the different theories were saying, well, freedom is kind of like you're free, but at the same time, you have to put effort to keep that freedom. I mean, all these theories were contradicting one another in my head from all the knowledge I've collected before that. And I told God at that point, show me what that freedom really means. And that's when Paul walks in with the friends. So we went to the farm, and I'm standing there kind of like looking at them chasing the sheep and the goats in the mud. And I'm looking at them like, why are they so happy, How can you be happy right now? And at that moment, I felt this very light breeze kind of like going through my head. It was very quick, but I realized I stood there and I realized that, wow, now I want to stay. Before that, I wanted to leave the center. I was going to go and do many different things. All these bad things were coming into my head. I was thinking, man, I should leave. I should go and do this. But after that, it was just like, wow, I don't want to leave. I like this place. I feel a lot better all of a sudden. I can talk a lot more about this instance, but that's how God gave me that deliverance, and that's how God showed me at that moment, this is my freedom. That's how it works. You asked, I gave it to you. And ever since then, I didn't have a single thought of coming back and, even smoking a cigarette or none of that, So praise God for that. One other thing, this is what the revelation I had yesterday thinking about it. It's not only deliverance from drugs that God gave me. Before I came to the center, a couple of times I told myself, this is how it's going to be. I don't like socializing with my family because my relatives would gather. I would just like, whatever, I'll get in the car and leave. And I kind of thought I would never have the joy of just fellowshipping with my family or even with my Christian friends. And God kind of turned that all around for me, So I thank God that He came into my life like that and changed it around. And I about 3-4 years ago, I heard that, I'm not going to say his name, he's not worthy of that, to say his name at church, but one of these stars, rap stars or something. He has spent half of his wealth, which is not thousands, it's millions, to get free from drugs. Millions of dollars. And he was free from drugs for a short while and then came back to drugs. So world cannot give you freedom, but God gave it to me for free. So thank God for that. Praise God.